ugonjwa huu utasambaa, lakini baadaye utaisha. Unakuta dereva labda anazuiliwa hiji kwenda wapi. Wewe atoke Dar es Salaam mpaka huko ametembea kilomita 1,000 na kitu. Hajaanguka mle kwenye gara na liendesha vizuri. Unajua. Na ndiyo maana ndugu zangu, mimi sikufunga mipaka. Niliheshimu majirani zangu. Tumezungukwa na nchi karibu 8. Ukizifungia maana yake umezinyima uchumi wao. Kuna baadhi ya nchi chakula zinategemea vyakula vya Tanzania. Mahindi, mchere. Sasa ukifungia nyama, kwa sababu sisi tunaongoza kuwa na ng'ombe wengi, maziwa, ukiwafungia wale wasipelekewe kule, kwanza umewadumaza uchumi wale waliokutengeneza hicho kitu, lakini umewanyima pia vyakula watu wanaokuzunguka katika nchi hii.
That all drivers of cargo vehicles shall be subjected to mandatory COVID-19 disease testing and will only be granted entry into the territory of the Republic of Kenya if they test negative.
All right, those are the two presidents in the East African countries of Tanzania and Kenya, respectively, and talking about the situation with the coronavirus. On one side, the Tanzania is taking it to the extent that they want to continue managing the economy. Of course, it is within their right. In Kenya, you see President Kenyatta closing the borders because he feels that the threat is heightened, especially from the borders at Namanga, Taita Taveta. And so that means that all the drivers of trucks that are coming into the country have been required. They have to go through COVID-19 testing to ensure they are COVID-19 free. Yesterday, we had a situation where it was reported by the CAS, Dr. Rashid Aman, that 53 truck drivers had tested positive of coronavirus. They were coming from Tanzania, and therefore they were turned back. 51 of them are from Tanzania, and 2 of them are Burundian citizens. Let's listen to what a provincial commissioner from Tanga, I believe, said or spoke about sometime yesterday. Just listen in.
Kuanzia leo, yani kuanzia sasa, wala sio kuanzia leo, kuanzia sasa, muda huu, kama kuna gari inatoka upande wa Kenya, imebeba shehena, imebeba mzigo, inaleta Tanzania, kuanzia leo ni marufuku. Kwa sababu hatuwezi kuwa na bidhaa na Watanzania wanakaa hapa zaidi ya wiki nzima, halafu wanatangazwa kwamba wana corona. Na tangu nimekuja hapa Ijumaa, niliagiza sekta ya afya ipime baadhi ya watu wanaotokea Kenya. Kati ya watu waliopimwa, zaidi ya wasafiri wanaotokea Kenya, wa Kenya, zaidi ya 19 wana corona. Sasa hatuwezi sisi turuhusu waendelee kutoka Kenya na corona zao waingize ndani ya nchi yetu. Kwa hiyo na sisi kuanzia sasa tunaweka utaratibu. Wakitaka kuingia nchini, watengeneze utaratibu, lakini kwa mpakao kuanzia leo, RPC, Rio, muimarishe utaratibu wa kuingia hapa. Kwa hiyo ndugu zangu, tuweze kuelewana hivyo, na nyinyi wa Tanzania wala msihangaike kwenda kule kununua bidhaa. Kama mlikuwa mnapenda kununua, na mwenyekiti ameniambia hapa 90% wanatoka upande wa Kenya wanakuja kununua kwetu. Sasa kuanzia sasa tuchukua hatua, kwa sababu kila wanapoingia ndani ya nchi yetu wanatuletea ugonjwa wa corona. Sisi corona Tanzania tumefika mahara, tumeondokana nayo.
So it would appear sort of a blame game, bearing in mind that he says that the drivers from Tanzania have to wait for so long to cross the border. They are waiting to be tested and have their results returned, but they are returned with a positive or confirmation that they are coronavirus positive. And to speak to us this morning is Dr. Mumon Zhao, who is a governance and national security expert or strategist. Good morning, Dr. And when you look at this situation we are finding ourselves in, first of all, there appears to be a different appreciation of the COVID-19 pandemic for the two countries. How do we reconcile these two ways of looking at things?
Thank you, Sam. First of all, it is important to be very cautious and moderate, and modest, how we comment on some of these matters. countries work with each other within an atmosphere of a lot of cooperation and a lot of rules that are governed through conventions and so on. And these are long drawn traditions, not only in our region, but globally. And therefore, I wanted to put that in context so that we do not in any way jeopardize our healthy relations, not only with our regional partners, but also with all friendly nations around the world. It just happens that the world has found itself in a very difficult time. Coronavirus, a novel virus, which has brought induced inertia, especially on the human side of things, and therefore, and it is an invisible thing. Unless under very highly, sophisticated microscopic things, when you can see that, and therefore, we cannot at any time put the important conventions that govern diplomatic and consular relations in jeopardy, or against the spirit of the East African community. And therefore, we cannot at any one time try to put words in the mouths of our heads of state. None of them has said, ordinary people out there may react in certain ways because it's about coping and trying to operationalize things and how to do. But fundamentally, there is not a fundamental problem between our countries, and none of our heads of state has pointed a finger, because that's not how countries talk to each other as neighbors.
But Daktari,
Yeah.
I understand the diplomatic approach that we need to look at these matters. But when a statement from a senior government official comes and says all truckers coming from Kenya into Tanzania will be turned back because they fear that the coronavirus is being taken to that country by Kenyans, how are citizens supposed to deal with it? Because there are people that their livelihoods depend on that transportation business.
Correct. It's very important to put that into context. That is in, I wouldn't like to comment much about that, but what I'm saying, because I don't want to say anything that would send a wrong signal to our people out there. Remember, even from the speech of our head of state, is that the border is, there's a cessation of movement,
right?
And that it is only when and goods and cargo is allowed,
right?
So it's not literally closed in the literal sense that is total closure of the border. In 1977, the border between Kenya and Tanzania was closed, totally shut. And that was because of other things at that time associated with, other ideological issues that had to do with how the East African community that time, the challenge it was going through. And our presidents, our leaders in the region revived this. And now the borders are not closed totally in the context of cargo. What governments have done is to discourage people to move across, and that is what if you want to read the good thing about what someone is saying without picking maybe something that is inflammatory or trying to blow something out of proportion, the Tanzanian official is somewhat also telling the Tanzanian citizens that also keep on your side of the border, don't cross, and that is what both presidents would want. That sort of movement is minimized because of the corona. It's dangerous, and the only way to deal with this is to cooperate and coordinate.
Right.
And I can bet some that our leaders are, even at the very highest level, sort of trying to iron out these matters about matters of procedure. You know, a problem can be circumstantial, procedural, or fundamental. This is a global problem. It's not about Kenya and Tanzania and so on. It's just a global problem. And governments have been put at very difficult settings to try and manage their own audiences, their own people.
Right.
In a way that is friendly. And President Magufuli was even saying that, how do I goods from another country coming in? How do, you know, we cannot deny people food and so on. It is the same statement that our head of state was making when he said cargo is allowed and so on. Now, the Tanzanian official is probably just saying, you know, we have to streamline. He could have said many words, but that is not in our it's not up to us. It's not at the diplomatic level, official diplomatic level, where you can comment on such matters. And I cannot even myself talk on behalf of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs or the state matters in my capacity. I can only say that cooperation,
yes,
is what our heads of state want, is what the world wants. Is the way to go, and we know, and everybody knows that this is very dangerous. And our head of state was even saying that he is at pains that we have to swallow very bitter pills. And he said that he feels himself, he would empathize. And the head of state of Tanzania just saying, in his own words again, trying to tell his people, you know what, I can feel this. This is painful to our people. How can I not let goods in from Kenya and other places? So our heads of state are saying the same thing, but they are trying to help people to, you know, break down the nitty-gritties. Once in a while, how people, you know, digest some of these things. It can be a little, sometimes sound flare out, you know, like in the media, and people need to be very, very cautious sometimes how they put things. For example, if you're in a compound and children are playing out there, sometimes you don't want to embarrass others and say, you know, you have probably to talk fast as parents and say, let us be careful how we do with you know, the children during this time of Corona and so on, because that's the same way governments treat their people, and it is not, this is not a security you know, in the hard nature matter. It is a human security thing.
And Daktari, let me cut you short, Daktari, because I think it was last week we saw a meeting of the East African community heads of state, some of them talking about Rwanda, Kenya, Uganda, and South Sudan, but we didn't see the participation of Tanzania as well as Burundi. Understandably, Burundi said that they were not able to attend given the election that is coming this week. But also the communication from Tanzania indicates that it was for the Northern Corridor, and therefore they didn't see the need to attend that meeting. How would you rate the relations within the East African community, and especially such times that they need every unity that they can find to fight this pandemic, which obviously can be transmitted to different parts of the community because of how some of the countries are landlocked?
Yeah, I would say that our relations are good. Are at a very advanced stage. Remember, when countries make concessions, when they sign treaties, they allow, for example, free movement of people, goods, capital, you know, and so on. And our countries have really tried very much to keep opening up the regional integration processes as per the plan. And it takes a long time sometimes to operationalize some of these matters to the very ideal state. and these are not bottlenecks that face just Kenya alone and the Eastern African region alone. You've had even presidents out there, say even the president of the United States, sometimes saying, the way this organization, the way these countries and so on is doing this, it doesn't sound to take us to brab very or to augur very well with our stand or how we want to do, but it doesn't mean that fundamentally that countries are totally negating the spirit of cooperation.
Right.
In international studies, we say that liberalism, which means sort of cooperation, the whole idea is beyond your country. Sometimes there are things you may not control. So what countries do is to try and manage that.
Right.
And to make it easier for their people to be able to interact. Sometimes there are bottlenecks. And this is the tragedy of Corona. It is not about just saying that because a head of state was not seen in the meeting or another one was not seen, that there is not that cooperation is not going on.
Okay.
And therefore, we ought not to sort of label things in negative light or sort of dramatize things beyond, beyond necessary. And therefore, there is not there is not a problem.
Okay.
In between Kenya and Tanzania. That's not right. It's just about how to, oil out, sort of operationalize some of these things. For example, look out. It's not about Tanzania. It's Somalia. Look about Uganda, and so on. And sometimes, and our people in the beginning. Our truck drivers and those from Uganda, they wanted a little bit of more direction how to do, and governments have really tried. For example, now they say, be tested at your point of origin, okay? Then when you get to the border, that is confirmed and so on. And you remember the East African Community presidents, Tanzania, Burundi, and all the others included, have had, long before we had Corona, a mobile, what do you call, laboratory arrangement.
Right.
And now they are trying to perfect it. So these are bottlenecks.
Right, Daktari.
And our leaders, our heads of state will be able to make sure that the officials are able to make this easier for the people in a way that everything works out. But for now, of course, our people should follow exactly the directions that our government, that our head of state has said, and not to cross the border unless it's about cargo, and to follow the protocols. For example,
I need to cut you short, Daktari, because you're practically out of time. But thank you so much for your insights on the Kenya-Tanzania relations, and of course reflecting on the measures that are being taken to control the spread of the coronavirus disease. Of course, Dr. Mumo Nzau is governance and national security strategist, of course, with some experience when it comes to matters international relations. And now we want to take a short break. On your return, we'll be talking about the politics of the country, because we know that according to the Senate Majority Whip, that is Irungu Kenyatta, the Jubilee Party is considering taking action against the Deputy Speaker at the Senate, that is Kithure Kindiki, who's also the Senator of Tharaka Nithi. We'll be looking at that, as well as the purge that we witnessed last week. We'll be speaking to Gladys Boss, who is the woman representative for Uasin Gishu, and later on we'll speak to Senator Irungu Kenyatta just to understand the different thinkings from that political party. We'll be back in a moment.